Welcome to part two of my interview with Dr. Robert Shiepe, the concluding chapter of our fascinating conversation. You'll get to see us talk about time travel and wormholes, all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's going to be a terrific interview, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, without further ado, here is part two of the interview. Have any more stories of the government's involvement in this and what you've been able to find out? And if through your own research or whispers from Washington or whatever. Well, if you can't share it, of course,
You know what?
don't violate any secrets.
Yeah, no, I'm actually. Well, no, I do. I do have. I do time travel.
Okay.
I know. NASA takes. There are two topics that NASA takes very top secret: time travel and black holes. And they're doing a lot of that research right here at JPL, Pasadena, California. And they have a special division that researches that only. And they told me, they told me the special division. Now, out of respect, I won't mention the special division, but they came up with a great name. But it's really, it's real. I mean, they're taking time travel very real. I can tell you this, I was friends with a code breaker in the Air Force. And he was very familiar with time travel. And he was friends with a time traveler. And this guy was, Jack, he was really next level. You could do a show on him. He was next level. I don't even think he was from, looking back, I don't think he was from planet Earth. I think he really was an alien. He was just, he incarnated, but he was an alien. Just because of his gift. His gift was, he was extremely telepathic. If time travelers are hanging out with you, he could predict anything with 100% accuracy. 100. He could tell you the lotto numbers tomorrow. That was nothing for him. That was easy. In 1970, he told some people who would win the Super Bowl. He was 100% correct. He guessed the score and the attendance. He said the next day, the government rang his doorbell. And they said, Glenn, more or less, please don't ever do that again. Please. Why? Why? He says, because people like you can change the outcome of the world. You can change the stock market. Please don't do that. And they said,
how did they find out about him?
He's he's publicly well known.
He was well known. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Glenn Falkenstein, just punch him in. He comes across, he does not say he's a magician. He lets you assume it's magic because he does not lie. So he would never say, I am a magician. He just assumes, you could assume what you want, but he's telepathic. And they said, Glenn, technically, it's illegal to use the radio because he made this prediction on the radio. He says it's illegal to use the radio to make predictions of the future. So he goes, okay, I won't do that anymore. But what he was really saying is, I will never do that any more in America.
Loophole.
Loophole. So he did a radio show 3 years later at Universal Studios in Los Angeles. He did a radio show for 1 year. And for fun, he predicted the horse races in Tijuana every day, caliente horse races. And he would just tell people ahead of time, here it is.
Okay, I need to hang out with this guy. I'm going to Tijuana with this guy.
My God, it's sad. I took it for granted. I was friends with this guy. I'm kicking myself in the butt every day. Like, Robert, what was wrong with you? Why? So after 100 days of doing this on the radio, the Mexican government filed a complaint with the American government. And they went back and they told Glenn, you got to stop making predictions again. And he said, okay, I'll compromise. I won't make the predictions on the radio, but I'll still make the predictions in front of the audience, because he had 1,000 people in the audience every day at Universal Studios. And he recorded all those radio shows, and I have the cassette tapes.
Nice.
And
Is he still with us?
No, he passed in 2010, but you should hear some of the stuff on those radio shows. And I'm only halfway through, but some of it was on time travel. He said, we're going to do an experiment today called the fourth dimension. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Glenn's volunteering the fourth dimension. Oh my God, the fourth dimension is time. And Glenn just briefly, he goes, in the fourth dimension being sound, and we'll do an experiment. And so I like, wow, I totally got that wrong. It's sound. And he played this song, Time in a Bottle. And after he played it, he said, okay, people call in. Did anything happen? And a lot of people called in. He said, oh my God, my spoons were bending. My antennas on my TVs, they were bending. We used to have those rabbit ears antennas. They were bending. Things were levitating in people's homes. But the most remarkable call, the night guardsman at Palomar Observatory in San Diego, Mount Palomar Observatory, he called in and said, Glenn, I was listening to your show, and when this happened, I was looking at my watch to see if it would stop, and the main chronometer at the observatory stopped. That's the main clock that the Navy uses to tell time. The Navy uses that. He said it stopped at the observatory. I'm like, and Glenn was like freaking out. He goes, "God, I hope I don't have to pay for that." And that's in history. If anybody goes back to July 26, 1974, Mount Palomar, that can be verified that their clocks stopped. So Glenn was very gifted. I did ask him one, Glenn, I said, Glenn, you're very telepathic. Have you ever met anyone like you? He goes, yeah. Somebody walked up to me at the radio show. And he said he was telepathic. I said, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? He goes, yeah. I said, who's this guy? Oh, he's a time traveler. Time traveler? And I just flipped out. I said, what's his name and what's he doing here? And Glenn very, very, there goes the TV, very reluctantly, he tells me his name and why he was here. But because Glenn was so reluctant, I'm reluctant to repeat his name and why he was here. But I could just tell you he was doing research. The time traveler is doing research.
Can you tell us what year he was from?
No, I did not ask. I could tell you what year he was researching.
Okay. All right. What year was he researching?
1776.
Why didn't he show up in 1776? Oh, I mean, obviously 1776, a big year, but why was he researching it in the 2000s or the 1900s, whenever this was?
That's a great question, because my assumption is the person he was researching in 1776 reincarnated to this century. So he was doing his due diligence. He was researching then and researching now.
So was he researching a person or an event?
A person.
Okay. Would this have been an important person in 1776?
Yeah, the biggest you can imagine. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to put I don't want to be the one that starts this avalanche in the time clock continuum. Yeah, I'm not trying
to. Are we talking a founding father? What are we talking about?
Okay, this founding father, but you got to leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's juicy, man. That's juicy.
Yeah, I don't want to screw it up. I'm just
okay. Oh yeah. I mean, we're in timey-wimey, as Doctor Who says.
Yeah,
that is fascinating. Okay, so to get back to an earlier point you made, before you started talking about the time traveler, you mentioned, and I realize you probably can't go into any detail, but you mentioned that NASA might have an entire program devoted to time travel. Did I understand that correctly? Is there any further information you can give us about that?
Yeah, a little bit. So This information was given to me from a doctor friend, and somehow it came up. I don't know how the subject came up, and he was going, yeah, I was taking care of this. I was taking care of a patient at JPL. And like I said, the people tell their doctors and pharmacists, it doesn't matter. They just tell them stuff. And he goes, he tells the doctor, yes, I'm working on time travel. And it's ironic. My doctor friend is literally one of the smartest doctors in America, literally. But my doctor friend, he goes, I don't believe in time travel. I don't believe you. So it was kind of funny, but the guy goes, hey, I'm working on this project. He goes, and this was like 20 years ago. He says, I could tell you, we are 5 minutes. We have like some spinning mirrors, and we can send light into the spinning mirrors, and it takes 5 minutes for the light to come back. He says, we're doing this. And again, my doctor friends, I don't believe you. I don't believe it. And I'm like, why would you not believe him? He told you the division at JPL. It's so, that was 20 years ago. So again, black holes and time travel, very top secret.
Yeah, any insight you can give us why or what?
Yeah, it's the same technology. Black holes. Well, black holes in when we warp space, it's the same thing. Wormholes is the same thing, pretty much as black holes. And when you can create a wormhole, you can create time travel. In fact, you cannot create a wormhole without creating time travel. They're one and the same. They're
well, my research into UFOs has convinced me of the reality of at least some time manipulations and some really interesting time abilities and properties of some of the beings. Some of alien abductees like Whitley Strieber and Deep Prasad, if you know who that is, the quantum computer guru. Well, when they are taken, I don't know if you knew he was an abductee or a contactee, as he prefers to be called, but when they are taken, those two and others report being taken to a place, a deeper level of reality, as they put it, a place outside of what we understand as space and time. And a lot of these events go to a timeless space in seemingly a different dimension. And it seems like some of these beings can come and go from our time through this other dimension that exists outside of space and time, and they can kind of come and go wherever they want to go. I don't understand that. Do you have any better understanding of that, or
do
framing of any of that?
Yeah, Jack, I do have a little insight. Back in '83, I was teaching myself how to go out of body. And
I just had my first out of body experience a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Okay, go on, please.
Yeah, awesome. It's like going to Disney. It's like being 5 years old, going to Disneyland. You don't want to leave. The problem is you can't stay. You're always pulled back. People say, aren't you afraid you'll get stuck? And it doesn't work like that. You get pulled back. But in 1983, I was teaching myself how to do this, and I got very good at it quickly. I don't know why. And what I did was I stood up out of my body. I was in my room, and I was looking around. I'm like, I don't believe this. I'm standing in my room here. And the first thing I did was I looked at my clock, my LED clock, because I wanted to know what time it was, and I wanted to know what time I would come back. So when I looked at so everything in the room is 100% identical. This dimension, the next dimension, is 100% identical, except the LED clock was unplugged. There was no time. There was no time. It was dead silence. It was as if you were deaf. There was no noise. That's my little dog here. So there was no noise. I traveled through the wall. I traveled to the front of my house. I'm out of body. I traveled to the front of my house. I'm looking around. dead silence. So this was 1983, and I'm looking around and I notice all the cars in the street were about 15 years old. So it was as if I traveled, what, to like 1968, all the cars.
It's a
I
good
found that,
era for music.
yeah, great, great. It's all I listened to. So I was puzzled. It's like, wow, these cars are 15 years ago. And then something amazing happened. I traveled a mile away, and I saw a building that was not built yet. And it was like a 15-story metallic blue glass building. And on the top of this building, very modern, at the very top was the word Nissan. And Nissan was not yet used in America, was not yet used. And 15 years later, after that out-of-body experience, that exact building was built 10 miles away, that exact building. Now, here's the very frustrating part. So where I saw this building built, where I was taken out of body, where I saw this Nissan building in the future built, at the time it was this giant parking lot of dirt on the border of Culver City and Los Angeles, kind of like no man's land. So I was like, oh, this will always be just worthless dirt. Well, 5 years ago, they ended up putting a gigantic building complex, almost worth $2 billion with a B dollars. So the point is, I think they were trying to tell me, Robert, you should buy this property.
Okay, well, did
Yeah. So
have you listened to a lot of real estate advice from out of body experiences?
well, no, not as much as I should have. I
Hey, I love it, man. Hook me up with some of this, guys.
yeah, no, I it's again, it's like Glenn, I took it for granted. He would tell me stuff and I just took it for granted. And I don't recommend it. If somebody is gifted, listen to what they have to say. And my TV's turning back on. Yeah, if somebody's gifted, I recommend you hear.
Well, yeah, one of my favorite remote viewing teams is Crypto Viewing. I don't know if you know Dick Algeier and Daz Smith. Some really great remote viewers. Well, they have a team called Crypto Viewing, and they review cryptocurrency. But that's not why I follow them. I follow them for their woo-woo targets. They view the Nimitz, they view the pyramids, some really cool targets they have viewed over the years. But maybe, and I always ignore their crypto stuff. But your experience has made me rethink that. Maybe I need to get back into the crypto side of remote viewing.
Write it down, at least write it down. Since you mentioned the Nimitz, let me share also. So besides how many sorties have been here since 2017, I tell people 15,000 just to keep it easy. But really, when you do the math, it's 42,000 sorties. So not only we've had 42,000 military sorties, we've had 3 major research vessels parked here in Marina del Rey. I documented it. I took their videos, and I'll give you the names. The Decisive. The other one's called the Ocean Investigator. They were parked here for 9 months. And at the end of their 9-month investigation, they literally dropped a 20-foot submarine into the water at the Jetty Rocks. It went underwater and stayed there for 1 hour. I left my camera on because I said, I'm not going to miss this video. 1 hour later, they pulled it out of the water and they left, and then they never came back. So if you want people to interview, does Congress want people to interview? The Decisive, and the ocean investigator.
I would love to hear those interviews. I hope that's an open hearing.
Oh, brother. That's also 2 years ago, the USS Gabriella Gifford pulled up to the Jetty Rocks, a Navy warship, parked right there 1 mile from the Jetty Rocks. And they broke out some good technology. What they did is they laid down a chemtrail, 1 mile long chemtrail, and it was a kaleidoscope rainbow chemtrail, and it started dripping out of the sky like candle wax. And I assumed the dragons would fly through it, they'd get painted, and it would show up on radar. And maybe the chemtrail was aluminum or copper ions. They'd get painted. I recorded, I documented the chemtrail, but it was a 1 mile chemtrail, nothing like, we're talking a kaleidoscope colors, nothing like a regular chemtrail. So you could ask the captain of the USS Gabriella, what's going on? We have the USS Oklahoma, but nobody's talking about the Gabriella, but it's there. Call me out on it. It's there.
That's fascinating. Do you have any ideas what was going on?
The dragons were all over them. They were all over. They tagged the Gabriella so many times. I got tired of counting. I said, you know what? I'll keep the video. Let researchers in the future. And my videos are open to any real researcher. They're open source. I'll create a link. You knock yourselves out researching it.
Okay, so what do you think is going on? If this phenomenon truly is localized to Marina del Rey, I mean, you say that it's everywhere. You say you have people sending you stuff from everywhere. So I assume that it's omnipresent to some extent. But you think it's especially thick in Marina del Rey, where there is indeed a lot of known activity. That general region is a high activity region. So I totally buy that it could be especially thick there, and there may or may not be an undersea base in that general region. So, do you think that these dragons are coming from there to keep an eye on what the land dwellers are doing, or do you have any insight into this phenomenon? Any ideas?
There's obviously the military circles the Jetty Rocks, and they circle near the Jetty Rocks. These dragons want to know who you are, so they're flying by for a reason. There's something in the ocean right here. It's logically, it has to be. There's something in the friggin' ocean. I don't have a remote viewer. I mean, the only person I could have asked was Glenn, but I know there's a lot of gifted remote viewers. So please use your gift. Remote view Marina del Rey.
Well, actually, that was one of the questions that I had for you. I was going to ask, have any remote viewers remote viewed any of your interpolations to see if they could get any insight?
That's a great question. They have not reached out to me. I hope they do. Watch my custodian file, please, or feel free to repost it. But no, I haven't gotten any feedback yet. Not yet. I'll look.
Because I just made a video the other day about a remote viewer, a part of the crypto viewing team that remote viewed the Tic Tac. And he was actually able to make contact with an entity, a presence that was a benevolent, enlightened presence that was teaching him about chakras of all things.
That's a good.
Who knows? I mean, no remote viewing is 100%, and no remote viewer is 100%. So you always have to take that with a grain of salt. But I thought that was super fascinating. I mean, this is a double-blind target. He doesn't know what he's seeing, but he's making contact with some high-level being that's teaching him about esoteric spiritual matters. So do you get the sense that this could have an esoteric explanation, or do you think this is a very technological drone from a 3D being or presence?
Well, really, Jack, you know as much as I do. The government is chasing something 2,000 miles an hour, no sonic boom. Oh, they fly zigzag also. I have zigzag interpolations. I have one that goes straight up and straight down. So honestly, if I knew, are they off planet, on planet, are they from the past or the future? We don't know. All I could say is 100%. We are being recon. There's something in our airspace. I have more than enough video. The research vessels can verify that. And by the way, the reason I brought up 40,000 sorties, it doesn't matter who you are. So the point is, whenever the president comes to Los Angeles, he gets reconned. So they fly up to the president's chopper. I have all those videos starting 2014. I accidentally recorded the president in 2014. I did not know there were a dragon until 2017. But ever since then, so it's going on 9 years, pretty much it, no matter who you are, you're going to get tagged. I can't stress enough how easy it is to predict. Like within a 10-second countdown, I can predict 10, 9, 8, here comes the dragon.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to make sense of this. Why the little drones? I mean, if they want to recon, why not satellites or some super fancy alien equivalent of satellites? Why do they need to send these little dragons? I mean, I'm calling them drones. They may, I mean, who knows what they are, but why recon in that specific way?
You know, you can assume that in the future, 50 years, 100 years, we are going to still have drones. Our Pentagon will have drones. They will be faster. They will be smaller. They will be more intelligent. They'll be more quieter. So these things are our future. It's very likely these things could be from our future, 500 years, 1,000 years. Very likely. It doesn't necessarily have to be from another planet. Probably the easiest answer is 1,000, 2,000 years from our future. But it's just the course of evolution. It's just things will get smaller, faster, more intelligent. Yeah, with a satellite, there's only so much you could do, but when you could take a little listening device and fly it exactly, and then transmedia, go under the earth, go into the dirt, that's pretty cool technology. That's just really.
Okay, all right. I don't want to keep you all day, but I do have a few more questions for you. All right.
That's fine. Take your time.
All right. So they're reconning us, right? But they will also buzz, the dragons will buzz any airborne object, even birds. You have interpolations where you can see these dragons buzzing birds.
That's because the birds made the mistake to fly over the jetty rocks.
Is that what it was?
That's what it was.
Okay,
If you
okay.
look at the photo, it's over the jetty rocks.
Have you tried making interpolations of birds outside of the jetty rocks to see if they show up?
Well, I do. I do have birds and dragons together, but to interpolate the bird doesn't move that much. It's just one, it's just there. Whereas the dragon at 2,000 miles an hour, you can interpolate something.
Okay. Well, I guess my question is, maybe I phrased it wrong, but have you looked to see, have you tried to take videos of birds outside of the jetty rocks to see if the dragons show up?
Yes, I do. I do. 1% successful. 1%. If you just leave your camera on and you point it randomly, 1%. It's just a lot easier to wait for a helicopter, especially to fly over the jetty rocks. It's like a sure thing.
Okay. So you're saying like a random bird outside of the jetty rocks, you would have like a 1% chance of seeing a dragon buzz that bird, but over the jetty rocks, 100% is going to buzz that bird.
Yeah, 98%. Some days it is 100. Some days I can capture a dragon. Literally, I look at the radar. I go, here comes a helicopter. I go out, I press record for 10 seconds. I record a dragon. I come back to my computer.
Okay. All right. So you have mentioned time several times today, and you just said that maybe these dragons are technology from the future. Do you think that's what we're dealing with? Are these dragons some technology from of us from the future?
You know, that's logically a correct answer. I don't think it's being made by anyone here on Earth. Uh, it just makes no sense. If it was a black program, why would these things be flying up to the president's helicopter? Who would do that?
Right.
Who would do that? Why would anyone in the Pentagon fly an experimental object up to the president's? It wouldn't happen. It does not happen.
So you're thinking less likely to be an ET explanation and more likely a time travel explanation?
It's I got to put money also on from the future. It's without inside information. I just don't know yet. But that's certainly a possibility. Yeah. You just have to look at the videos. You read the psychic energy. I did find a video in Canada at an air show of an F-22, and I could send you that. It was a Chevron ship, a ship, not a drone. And when I saw it, I said, that's from our future. That's like 1,000 years from our future. So entirely possible, yeah.
So,
They're
because that would make sense why they use electricity. You know, if the ETs are using 0 point energy or whatever they're using, but these dragons are using electricity or whatever, that would make more sense that that could be human technology.
maybe they're saying, you know what? In the year 2023, all they had was electricity. We could use that. Let's use that. Let's adapt to that. But yeah, I'm sure they have other technologies of propulsion. But when you do look at the video again, you'll see small plasma jets. And again, I think those are electrons. And a lot of you will say, oh, these are bugs and I'm wasting my time. But don't make a summary judgment.
Well, don't
There's
you have these dragons that have gone behind the craft?
yeah,
Yeah, I
behind
mean,
the
they're
craft,
clearly not dragonflies.
behind the craft. Again, I've triangulated at they're 1,700 feet out. What's triggering the X band, the K band? Why is the Pentagon saying the K band and the X band is being triggered? What the heck are 40,000 sorties doing over Marina del Rey? That's Los Angeles is not a military city.
Well, I mean, you've got the military helicopters shooting at one of these things. They probably wouldn't have shot at a dragonfly. I mean, maybe they used energy weapons against dragonflies. I don't know, but probably not.
You know, the only thing I'm concerned with, I was in line of sight with the Dragon and the Black Hawk. So, I'm concerned about that. Like, how targeted is that energy being? I'm concerned about that. Did I get hit? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've aged a lot in the last 5 years.
You're in the line of fire there. Be careful.
Line of fire.
Well, so that's an alarming thought. So if we are getting this technology to shoot at these things from non-humans or something, in some non-mundane, way, uh, and if dragons are human technology from the future somehow, time travelers or something. Are we caught in a cosmic war with the beings against us from the future? Did we go bad in the future? Or is the control group the baddies and us from the future are the good guys? Then the dragons represent the good side.
These are great questions. I could tell you this, that again, my friend Glenn, the psychic friend, who kind of introduced me to this, he's a good guy. He's a white hat. So he would never be involved with anything negative, and he would not let me get involved with anything negative. So yeah, these dragons are the good guys.
Okay, so tell me more about that. Tell me more if you would, if you want, if you feel like you can share that.
Well, God, no, it's really that this Glenn was a straight up straight shooter, impossible to lie, very honest. I only used his gift for good. He was a speech pathologist for the LA City School District. So he could easily communicate with autistic children. It was easy. So he used his gift for that. He'd he used his gift. I could tell you there were a pair of famous tigers in Las Vegas. I won't say their name. You could probably figure it out. Show tigers in 1994. The owners of these tigers, they said, Glenn, please come to Las Vegas, talk to our tigers.
Are these famous owners?
Oh yeah, it's a, yeah. This is an easy one, Jeff.
Okay.
So, and basically, Glenn, I'm assuming he had to sign an NDA. So when I questioned Glenn, he didn't say too much. It's because again, he's an honest person. But he said, but the tigers were fine and they didn't have any problems at all. So the point is, oh, well, this is an important point. So in 1994, Glenn did say, hey, Robert, if you're interested in UFOs, do you want to go to Palmdale, California, where Edwards Air Force Base is? And I will ask them to fly by. This is turning out to be the best story yet for the end, you might say. So, like an idiot, I go, no, Glenn, I'm busy. I don't want to go to Palmdale. It's going to take 2 hours to drive there. And I'm like, so no, I don't want to see that. So around 2017, I was reflecting. I'm like, boy, that was the wrong answer. I said, Glenn, I should have said yes. I should have said yes. Well, being a gentleman and being a stand-up guy, Glenn put the offer on the table in 1994. He never took it off the table. He's a stand-up guy. So when I said, yeah, Glenn, tell me about these UFOs, whatever the reason, I found a video of the Blue Angels in Palmdale, California, 2017. And the Blue Angels are just flying around there practicing. And sure enough, a wormhole opens right in front of the cockpit. These dragons fly out, and a U.A.P. flies out and flies up to the windshield and flies away.
Wow.
And that was Glenn saying, I fulfilled my promise.
Wow. Wow.
So I showed that video to a lot of people because I've been on the Discovery Channel. So I showed it to the Hollywood people.
Was that on the Leak Project?
I think it is, yeah.
Because that's ringing a bell. I remember that was an amazing footage.
Yeah, well, it is. And so I doubt if there'll ever be another one like that. It won't be. That was just Glenn fulfilling his obligation. Glenn said he'd do that in 94, and I only took him up on it on 2017. Crystal clear video. So I gave that video. Well, it's on YouTube. It has not been taken down yet. I gave that video to Discovery Channel. And believe me, let's see, how do I politely put this? They reached out to the Navy. That's all I got to say. They reached out to the Navy. So the Navy knows about this incredible wormhole video. So the ones that they're showing Congress, these crappy videos, that video's a 1. The one I found is a 10. No comparison.
Well, why should they show us the good stuff? They've been covering this stuff up forever. They're shooting at these things. They've got some whole agenda going.
They're not selling us day-old bread. They're giving us bread from last summer.
Right. Well,
okay. And then I showed this video, well, to other people, and they're very baffled by it. And so I'm saying it's there. I'll tell your viewers, it's not top secret. The name of the video is Blue Angels Looking Forward. And the timeline, if my memory serves me correctly, is 2314. 2314. Blue Angels Looking Forward, 2314. It's very fast, the speed of a bullet. So get ready. The K button is pause. I don't know if you know on YouTube, the K button is pause. So get ready to hit the K button. But I believe it's 2314, and you will see. Process the video, slow it down frame by frame. you will see exactly what I said. And by the way, I assumed before I saw a wormhole, I assumed a wormhole was a circle expanding, an expanding circle. It's not. It's a curtain being pulled backwards, just a straight curtain being pulled backwards. So the curtain is pulled backwards. This circle, this solar system circle appears. These dragons fly out.
You are looking out of a cockpit of a jet from the Blue Angels. In a moment, you're going to see a wormhole open up. You can actually see it happening now at about the 1 to 2 o'clock position. A wormhole is actually opening up, and in just a second, bank, there it goes. You see that? That is a U.A.P that flies out of a wormhole, and this was captured from the pilot's cockpit.
That's amazing because so I want to say we have several different pieces of video evidence for portals and wormholes now. We have the one you're just talking about. We have what may be a wormhole or portal on Skinwalker Ranch. They have been able to detect this in numerous ways. And there's a couple of videos where you can see a UFO kind of rippling out. It's unclear to me if that's going into a wormhole or just an invisibility cloak. But in any case, there is definite evidence of some sort of portal activity at Skinwalker Ranch. We have the movie The Terror in the Sky, which has this very amazing footage of these UFOs seeming to come out of a tear in the sky over the Catalina Islands.
Very familiar. I did reach out to the producer. I gave her that video. I gave her the Palmdale wormhole. So I have not heard back yet.
Y'all definitely need to compare notes on that.
Yeah, but I'm very, if you haven't watched.
What's her name? Carolyn?
Carolyn Corey.
Okay, yeah.
Corey, yeah. So it's out there. This video, Hollywood could not make a better CGI video. They cannot do it.
So what does this imply to you? Are these things coming from somewhere else? Are they portaling in? Are they coming from a different dimension, a different solar system? Where are they coming from?
Well, obviously they're traveling. Now, we don't know if they're traveling from another planet or if they're traveling just from our future. There's no way we could know that.
Also possible.
I would hope that when they generate a wormhole, I would like to see it several 100,000 miles away from the planet. Because I assume there's a shock wave, and we don't need that shock wave on planet Earth.
Well, that's a great point. If they're opening these portals up, I guess they have some technology to make it safe. I mean, if that's what's going on, do you think that's what's going on?
I would, as long as you're at least 300,000 miles out, it's probably safe. Something like watching a nuclear bomb at 300,000 miles away, you're probably safe. But you don't want to be around when these things are. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I'm right there with you, but we've got them on video doing that here on Earth.
Again, we don't know how far away they are. Hopefully, again, 5 years ago, I got really lucky. I think we had a portal. 5 years ago, we had a highly unusual orange ball of fire show up at 9 o'clock at night, and it just sat there on the horizon for 6 hours, an orange ball of fire. And I recorded it, and I ended up keeping like 5 minutes, and then I deleted the rest. I don't know why I deleted it. I'm kicking myself. But I think that was a portal that was just left open. And I took some really good video. I was able to zoom in really good on it. Sorry, the science world. I dropped the ball, but I kept 5 minutes of it at least. But yeah, it's I do think wormholes involves hundreds and hundreds of millions of volts of electricity, and you just do not want to be around stuff like that. The radiation, the gamma radiation, believe me, radiation's not a toy. You don't want to be around it. It's just not. Um, so I think they figured out by using hundreds of millions of boats how you could use that to create a very mass density that is so mass it sucks in the space around it and allows you, it actually pushes you somewhere else from A to B. That's how I think this is all working, wormholes. It just involves hundreds, if not billions of volts of electricity. Here's my theory. Roswell, TV just went back on. Here's my theory. Roswell, I don't think we shot it down. I think it got hit by a high voltage lightning, something in 2 or 3 or 4 billion volts. And the UFO didn't calculate. It was trying to maybe recharge off the lightning. It miscalculated. It got hit by a 4 billion volt energy weapon and crashed. That's my theory.
The best theory or the best information I have for UFO crashes comes from Dolly Saffron, if you know who that is.
No.
She's a contactee and experiencer who, do you know the UFO researcher Preston Dennett?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well,
yes.
he wrote a book about her. He actually has an ongoing podcast that he does with her. He's had her on his show many times. Anyway, but she is unique in that she is one of, well, the only one that I can think of offhand that is a fully conscious repeat abductee. I've heard of others that are fully conscious, but she's the only one that's coming to my mind. But a contactee that doesn't have their minds wiped after their experience. And so she says that these UFOs, they kind of surf the electromagnetic field, and they're very sensitive to our electromagnetic field, the Earth's, and that the Earth's electromagnetic field is unstable. And so sometimes they crash. Now, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
I kind of follow that, and that might be, but also you got to remember the night of Roswell was an extremely violent thunderstorm.
Okay.
Very unusual, extremely violent. People were hiding in their homes. It was so unusual.
Well, you have evidence that these things do interact with electricity.
Yeah, I have a picture of a video of a dragon flying down high voltage lines, touching them. So to me, if you're hanging out in front of a coffee shop, I'm going to assume you're drinking coffee. If you go to a ball game, if you go watch the Angels, the Dodgers, I'm going to assume you're going to watch a baseball game. If you're hanging around high voltage lines, I'm assuming you're recharging with electricity.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And it would be logical. I mean, the energy is there. Why not right. Avail yourself?
Free electricity.
Time for a top off.
Exactly. And it's free. Like I said, and the major filer, he told me many times he investigated a lot of UFO sightings over nuclear power plants, especially in Canada. And they were having big problems because they were losing a lot of power and they could not explain it. So these things, whenever they need topping off, and if you're a mothership, if you're a larger ship, you go right to the source. You just fill it up. Yeah. So if you don't want to fly to the sun to refill, just go to one of our nuclear power plants and refill.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Sharp. I really, really appreciate it. Do you have any projects you're currently working on? Where can people contact you? Any final thoughts? Where should people go?
Well, you know what? Yeah, custodian file. You can reach me, or my email, custodianfile@gmail. Custodianfile@gmail. And I just need people's help here. If you have some professional flare camera equipment, either come here, you can come to my home or loan me the camera. Let's put together an A-team. We, just like they did at Terror in the Sky or Skinwalker, we could do this here. Especially right now, August, September, theoretically, the weather should be really clear. If you want maximum video, come on a hot day, on a clear day. Why is that? because on a hot day, people go to the beach. When people are at the beach, there are more banners and parasols flying around, and parasols and banners get tagged by dragons. There'll be dragons all over the sky. And then the army and the police come in to look for the dragons, and then there's more dragon videos. So that's how you do this August and September. But I could use the help. Yeah, it really is. And if anybody is a video or a software expert, I need a software that can interpolate pictures for me. That's really hard. I've already spent like $10,000 and it cannot be done yet. To take a video and copy and paste each frame. They're saying it's really hard to do. I don't get it. So, but watch my videos, reach out to me. I have a lot of videos. So if you want to research this, I can send you unlimited. I can send you hundreds of Coast Guard, hundreds of Apaches, Black Hawks, the Lakota helicopters are here. It's endless.
Well, I hope somebody takes you up on that. I think the research that you're doing is very important. You're actually furthering our understanding of the phenomenon and just how all pervasive it is and how heavily it is engaged with us.
Maybe, by the way, I have reached out to Representative or Congressman Tim Burchett.
Mm-hmm.
So they know, but if they hear from other viewers, it's just like, hey, can you maybe look into whatever this, Dr. Robert, he's talking about these UAPs, Marina del Rey. Could you maybe look into that? That's all. When you hear things 2 or 3 or 4 different places, it gets your attention. I'm doing my best, but I'm one person. I'm not a politician. I'm not from Hollywood, so I don't have those connections. I have medical connections. But I've sat down again with Hollywood. I've sat down with Sony Pictures. I've told people what's going on, but it's people are researching it, but they're not saying, hey, we want more information, Robert. They're trying to do it on their own. So reach out to me. I'll be more than happy.
All right.
This is open source. I'll be more than happy to help.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see what you do next. And I hope that you tell us about it when you do.
I will. Well, I want to get a flare camera, but and then, yeah, I even went out, I bought a police radar gun, but I need someone to hold it while I'm recording. So I'll get there. You'll get there.
You'll get there. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us and answering all my questions and that I had. I'm sure as soon as I ring off, I'll think of a dozen more, and hopefully I can have you on again someday. And, yes. But thank you for being so generous with your time, and thank you very much for your great research.
Thank you, Jack.
And if you guys have enjoyed this, please give this video a big thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, all that kind of good stuff. And I will see you guys next time. And please give Dr. Shiepe some love. He has been very generous with his time. And see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.
God bless. Bye-bye.